If you or a family member have been hurt because of the careless actions of another person, call Walker, Texas Lawyer. They'll work to get you the financial compensation and justice you deserve. They have 40 years of experience, and you don't pay unless you win. Call 713-881-9653 today for a consultation or go to walkertexaslawyer.com.
Oh, Brad, what have you done now?
Broadcasting live from Houston, Texas, and around the world. TV host, best-selling author, and radio personality Brad Gilmore brings you a collection of conversations with stars from movies.
Mark Wahlberg.
Hey, how are you?
The legendary Mr. Christopher Lloyd. Christopher, how we doing?
I'm doing good. Great introduction.
Television.
Jimmy Fallon joins us this morning. Jimmy, how you doing, my friend?
Good morning. Thank you so much, Brad, for having me. I appreciate this, bud.
Kelly Ripa.
Brad, thank you for having me.
Comedy.
Jay Leno joins us. Jay, how you doing?
Hey, Brad, what's going on?
Gabriel Fluffy Iglesias.
Good morning.
Music.
Lola Monroe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
The legendary frontman of AC/DC, Brian Johnson, joins us right now. Brian, how you doing?
Good morning, Brad. What looking to talk, you me funny lad.
Grammy Award winner Maya joins us.
How are you?
And more. This is The Collection. Now your host, The Boat, Brad Gilmore.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of The Collection. My name is the Boat, Brad Gilmore. I hope that you've enjoyed all the shows that we've had thus far on this channel. It's really been a fun time to talk to all these people who I'm truly fans of, each and every person that I have on here. So it's a great time, and today is no exception. Martin and Jesse Kove. You know Martin Kove from playing Kreese on Cobra Kai, and of course in 2 of the Karate Kid films. He's been in so many other things aside from just those, but that's where he is most known from. His son Jesse was also in Cobra Kai, and they're working on a comic book series together called Prodigal Son, which is a really fun comic book about a Western, and we're going to get into all of that. Martin Kove was great. Jesse was great. This was one of the interviews that when I hung up with them, it was one that if there was somebody sitting next to me at the time, I would have looked at him and said, that's pretty good, wasn't it? Because I had so much fun with them. And Martin has a connection to Texas that if you continue to listen into the later stages, it's always going to be like a hidden track in this interview of us talking before we actually started about Texas. But he also has an incredible story about working with Quentin Tarantino. And it's worth checking out the entirety of the interview just for that story. So without further ado, let's talk about The Prodigal Son. Let's talk about this new graphic novel with Martin Kove and his son, Jesse Kove, on The Collection. And they're joining us right now on the air. We're talking about the new comic book, the graphic novel, Prodigal Son, and the 2 creators are here with me, Martin and Jesse Kove. Martin and Jesse, good morning to y'all. Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
I'm so excited. So I'm a big comic book fan. When I read through kind of what this is all about, I got real excited about it. But Jesse, why don't you tell us exactly what is The Prodigal Son about?
Prodigal Son is a great comic book. That my dad kind of had this idea. It's an action-packed story that revolves around a 12-year-old boy. He teams up with, this really mean old outlaw who's played by my dad, in the West to, basically exact revenge on a gang that murdered this young boy's family. And I'm the leader of that gang. There's all kinds of, incredible stories that go along with the journey. Eventually, the boy's got to decide, who's the greater threat to his soul, the gang who pursues that they're pursuing, or the outlaw that he's riding with, that's played by my dad.
Oh, man, yeah. So if people listening right now, I mean, just the idea, the concept behind it is so great. Martin, so this was a germinative idea that you had that you wanted to kind of bring to life via the comic book realm?
Yeah, I like the story a lot, and I like to eventually do it as a series and a movie. It's just, I wanted to increase the exchange of morality between, I just think that kids need to know about Westerns. and it's the heritage of American cinema. And how do you really do that? You involve kids. You involve kids in the story, and the old values of this gunfighter are represented in a sense of us who used to watch 35 primetime westerns on network television in the 60s. And we're like the old school. And people like Taylor Sheridan, who, created 1883 and 1923 and Yellowstone. I mean, he's created this marvelous resurgence of the Western. And I wanted to sort of pinpoint it more so I could drag in kids to the genre when this becomes a series, when this becomes a movie, and they'll be able to experience the exchange of moral fiber with the old school, this gunfighter, who learns a lot about life from this 12-year-old kid, and vice versa. So that's how it all evolved,
You're right, Martin. I mean, there was a period of time where you couldn't change the channel without seeing a Western. I mean, Gunsmoke was the biggest show in the world, and it ran for 20 years. And it does seem like the Western has gone by the wayside for a while. But yeah, there is a definite resurgence. And Jesse, for you, when working on this comic book, I feel like in a comic you have to be very effective and very purposeful with every frame on the page to further the story. How long did it take to kind of craft how the story was going to play out within the pages?
Well, it was also co-written by Don Handfield, who's also a writer and producer, and he helps he's co-writing the series. And I guess how long has it taken? Probably it's taken over. I guess this past year, we would say it's been about a year.
Yeah, I would say, because it's in 4 issues. It's 4 issues, and each one, I wanted it crafted like a movie. I didn't want it crafted straight away, simplistically like Batman or Superman. I really wanted to get this completed as if we were writing 4 structured segments of a movie, and I wanted it to be hip. I wanted it to be 20th century writing. I didn't want it to be Victorian. And I guess it's taken a year to put the pieces together because every issue has development of every character. And Don has been very helpful. Our producers who are working with us are very supportive. Tim Zajaros and Chris LeMole, both of them, created Thunder comic books, and they're great. They've got a background of Mudbound and Peanut Butter Falcon as films that they produce. So they love this kind of thing, and they're very supportive. And I love working with them. But primarily, the story is worked out with Don Handfield, and I just wanted a story that's identifiable. And it takes as long as it takes, but this one has taken a year, just like a movie. You just create a movie. It takes a year to develop, anything that's worthwhile. It takes a long time.
Let me ask you this, Martin, and really, Jesse, I have a question for both of you. This one is the medium of comic book, obviously, in recent years, has skyrocketed. There was a point to where comic sales, similar to Westerns, as you pointed out earlier, Martin, where they kind of started to diminish, and then boom, they had this incredible comeback. What is both of your individual relationships like with comic books, and what were some of the ones that you used to read or still read to this day? Martin, we'll start with you.
Well, I was always into the movies and the TV comic books. All those Warner Brothers series. I mean, they had so many series on, and for every series they had Bronco and Colt 45 and Maverick and Sugarfoot. They had a comic book, and I personally loved. It didn't have to be a Western. I just collected the cinematic and television stories with great fervor because I loved, I still have my comic book, The Vikings, the Kirk Douglas 1957 movie with Ernest Borgnine and Tony Curtis. I still have that. I still have my Zorro comic books. I still have my Davy Crockett with Bess Parker comic books. You know, I still have all those that meant something to me back then and still mean something to me now, where I'll pop on Disney Plus. I'll throw down on Davy Crockett with Bess Parker, circa 1955. I'll watch some old, Maverick episodes. Have Gun Will Travel. I've got to Have Gun Will Travel with Richard Boone comic book. So my whole love was from cinema and television more so than the comedy character of Donald Duck or Batman or Superman. I really was into just the television and cinematic, and I buy as many movie comic books as I could, and I still collect them.
That's awesome. Jesse, what were some of the ones that you collected and read?
I mean, when I was a kid, for me, it was more so the superhero stuff, like Superman, Spider-Man, X-Men, all that kind of stuff that I loved, so when I was a kid. And, it's been so fun to be able to join with Thunder Comics, to be able to create this story, and with my dad, of course. And, what's great is people can really follow the journey. If they go to Kickstarter.com, and they just type in Martin Kove in Kickstarter, they'll see the Prodigal Son page come up. And just, for anyone listening, give us a follow, because we have a lot of stuff that we're releasing, videos and artwork. And also, we're giving people the chance and opportunity to even have their likeness drawn into one of our issues. So, if you want to be in a comic book, you can.
I would love it. Let me ask this, because Martin, you brought up Have Gun Will Travel, which is my dad's favorite show. One of my favorite movies, though, recently of all time, is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and you had an appearance in that, in a Western television show, Bounty Law, was it? How did that kind of come about, and what do you remember working on what I think is one of the great movies in the last 10 years?
Well, I'm amazed it didn't win Best Picture.
I'm shocked.
Shocked. Big time shocked. And what won was that movie, it's a Korean movie, I don't even remember. But the bottom line was, he's great. He's just wonderful to work for. And one of the greatest things I ever experienced was, I was in my Western gear. I did the scene. I don't know, we were at take 8, take 9. And he says, Marty, I really like what you're doing, but I'd like one more. And I said, okay, me another take. And he turns around to the crew of 200 men, and he says, and why? And everyone screamed in unison, because we love to make movies. And it was just, you just know you're working in the absolutely perfect environment to make films when you work for Quentin Tarantino. It was so much fun. And I gave him a double rig holster that Sammy Davis Jr. gave me when I kidnapped him back on Charlie's Angels in 1977. It was a double rig hand carved holster that was made by Arbor Ojala, who in those days was the leather maker and the technical advisor to a lot of the TV shows. And he got it, and he was such a fast draw, Sammy Davis Jr. But I couldn't wear the holster because it was he had a 28 waist. So I ended up giving it to Quentin. If I had a good time on the show, I was going to give him that double rig holster with Sammy Davis Jr.'s name, carved on the back, and Arbor Ojala. I knew he'd know that heritage, and he loved it. I had a great time. I went back to my dressing room. I gave him that holster, and he put it hanging in Al Pacino's office in the movie. And he came up to me and said, did you remember seeing it? Did you see the holster hanging? I mean, I had such a good time. And there's all kinds of stories like that. Working for Quentin Tarantino is a privilege, because he loves movies as much as any actor, any actor he hires.
Wow, that is a great story. I'm so glad that I got to hear that. I did not know that about the holster. Now I'm going to have to rewatch the movie tonight and look for that scene. One final thing for you, Martin, on just, obviously everyone loves what you've done over the several decades playing to Crease. I know that the upcoming final season is going to be released soon on Netflix. How is it saying goodbye to such an iconic character?
Well, the interesting thing about that character was he's turning, because if you follow the episodes on season 5, he broke out of jail and you realize he was framed and all that. So there is a vulnerability to the character that I've always wanted to play, and I signed on years ago wanting the writers to write some vulnerability, some emotional texture, not have him be John Kreese from, the first movie where he was just one-dimensional. It's kind of like, a cartoon character. And they did that with the flashbacks with my son, Jesse. He was in the first show with the flashbacks where, he's in a diner and everybody thinks that he's me because he's bullying the busboy. And the busboy in that season 3, is me. And it's circa 1965, and Jesse is the bully, And Jesse was a guest star in Cobra Kai. And, there's more vulnerability, there's more texture. The writers are brilliant. The show is popular because of the writing. It's a family show. And, it's been a privilege to be part of it. And, it's the gift that keeps giving,
It really is. And I'm excited about Prodigal Son. Jesse, let everyone know, where can they get the first issue, and give them that link one more time of how we can support and get involved with the Prodigal Son.
Yes, if they go to Kickstarter.com and then just type in Martin Kove in the search bar, you'll see a comic book, a man, basically we call him the Man in Black. It literally looks like a comic book version of my dad with a black hat and a whole black outfit on. It's the first thing that pops up. So go to Kickstarter.com and then just type in Martin Kove in the search bar, and it'll come up there, Prodigal Son, and you'll give us a follow, because when you follow us, you'll be able to get notified when we start to release new issues and when we release some of the perks that we're doing. So it's going to be great for anyone that checks us out.
I can't wait to read it. I can't wait to support. I really enjoyed the conversation with the both of you this morning. Congratulations on the Prodigal Son, and I can't wait to dive into it and read it for years to come.
Thank you. Remember the Alamo.
Remember the Alamo, Martin Kove. Such a great time talking to y'all. Have a great day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Hurry up, tape running out.
Oh, Brad, what have you done now?
Texas, my favorite.
You're a fan of the Lone Star State?
Well, I was born on the day the Alamo fell. So I've got this incredible metaphysical connection to Texas all my life. You know, always been fascinated with the Alamo and San Antonio and Houston and Dallas. And it just, you know, been down to Lajitas and Austin and every place. I just have a great time whenever I go to Texas. I have a great time.
Oh, that's great to hear. Well, I'm excited to talk to the both of you here. We'll get this spun up. I know y'all got a lot to do, so I appreciate you taking the time.
All righty.
All right, here we go. In 3, 2.